In bodybuilding, over 50 years, I'm guessing that a lot of standards have changed. For example, when we were talking about the lat pull-down machine, it used to be that a lot of people would teach, pulling behind the head. Now we know quite clearly that's a bad move. It doesn't work with the body. We want to pull it, down to our chest. I'm guessing that other standards have changed as well. What are some things that come to mind, how things have changed in 50 years?
Well, 50 years is a long span of time. And it's going to be terribly difficult to wrap that up in a short conversation. We could start with year 1, go into year 2, year 3, on down the line.
So it's changed that much?
Because every year things change. Even in this competitive season is going to be different than last competitive season because things have changed. I think I should mention some of the most dramatic things that have happened.
Sure.
Over the last 50 years is the changes that I've noted in nutrition. Nutrition has changed so dramatically, and we have food selections and choices, and we also are what we eat. That really does make sense. You truly are what you eat. But what I think a lot of people are missing the boat because they don't understand that what they think they're eating is maybe a lot more potent than what they realize. And when in 1941 we had what was called the Food Enrichment Act. That was brought about because during World War II we had to condense food, we had to dry it, we had to smoke it, we had to can it and process it and overcook it, and in order to get massive quantities sent out to our hungry troops. We were able to do that by using those methods, and when we were able to ship large quantities of food across the seas. And the problem that stemmed from that was that after eating 2 or 3 weeks of this food, that was what we call sea rations, people were they were complaining because they were hungry all the time.
So sea rations, the C stood for can't eat no more.
Can't take no more of this. No, but what was happening was that we were supplying a food source that was empty calories. We were cooking the nutrients out, processing the nutrients out. So the government stepped in and it said, okay, let's force this new legislation through. We're going to call it the Food Enrichment Act of 1941. Everybody that produces food that leaves the United States of America or is served or processed here in the United States of America is going to have an enrichment process. So we're going to bombard these cooked down vitamins with the vitamins and so forth that we've cooked out. We're going to replace them
with something artificial.
Yeah, so we're starting to put synthetic vitamins to work. Okay, when that happened, it was a good thing because it put the nutrients back into the food, but it also was something that was never regulated. When the act was activated, they never put a regulatory commission to watch what was happening.
Boy, now they'd have the regulatory commission, the committee board, the committee to oversee the committee, the
they
budget
do.
committee.
They have a lot of these committees, but still, even to this day, there's nobody that's watching what's happening with our food.
Okay, that could be a serious...
This is terribly dangerous. And let me explain why. What's going on now is that we have hormonally charged food. Our food chain, we have fewer farmers, Murray, than we've ever had. We have a lot more people. How does that work? Explain the math to me. We have less acreage and we have more mouths to feed. There's something wrong with that equation. So somewhere along the line, we're using chemicals. We're using hormones, and we're using hormones in our livestock, our plant stock, our water sources, and all kinds of things are being charged with fortification of vitamins and minerals and even hormonal.
Okay, so what I'm catching on is we want to avoid that as much as possible.
we want to recognize it. We can't avoid it because it's there. It's there and happening. In order to avoid it, we'd have to either decrease the population, which we can't do, or we'd have to increase the amount of farmers that we have. We can't do that either. We're out of farm space. So what we've got is like I said, a reduced farm acreage, and we've got too many mouths. So in order to meet the demand for food, the government and the farmers got together and they decided to hormonally and start enhancing our food. So we are at the end of the food chain. So if they're hormonally putting these foods into cattle and poultry and chickens and everything, why has Colonel Sanders never run out of chicken? How can all of these fast food chicken places stay in business and keep all these chickens? Where in the world are all these chickens coming from? Have you ever seen a chicken farm? I haven't.
It's not in my neighborhood.
No, not in your neighborhood, but somebody's neighborhood. There's thousands of chickens being processed. So because these chicken franchises, they don't run out of chicken. You don't run out of chicken at wherever you go.
Not even at the mini mart here in Vernonia.
No. So anyway, what I'm saying is that we have to recognize what's happened to our food. This is why young girls are blossoming now to a nice rich figure when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. That never happened back in my day. You asked me about changes I've noted. Another thing that I see are college or high school kids that look like they should be in college. You've got junior high kids that look like they should be in high school. You've got elementary children that look like they should be in middle school. So everybody is advanced now. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're taller, the whole thing. And it's happening because of our food. What's happening at the ground level of food processing is affecting our diet, producing these changes that we're seeing in society today. And it's starting now to show itself. With every good thing comes a bad. And what I'm about to tell you is going to shock you. Every 150 babies in today's world produces one with autism. Now those numbers are unacceptable. 1 in 150 babies, one of them has autism. Autism is a horrible thing. We shouldn't see numbers like that. If you look back 40 years, 50 years ago, an autistic baby was national news. That was something that only happened once in a million times. Now it's once every 150 babies. That's because something's wrong at the food level.
Okay. So what I'm getting at, what I'm concluding is that you're going to tell me that we need to know that, recognize it, and then try to minimize intaking bad food or highly processed food into our body, and we want to eat more whole foods, more natural foods. Is that kind of the point you're getting at?
We want to stay as natural as we can. We need to eat a lot of fresh fruit.
Because we are what we eat.
Yes, we want to eat as much fresh fruit and vegetables as we can. We want to avoid highly processed foods because you're going to be getting into the chemically altered, genetically altered food. The comment that was so funny about Colonel Sanders never running out of chicken. Well, we also see that we don't run out of potato chips. We don't run out of a lot of these other things, French fries. We don't run out of a lot of these foods. And there's a reason we don't. It's because they're being mass produced and they're being forced to grow. And they're being forced to grow so fast that if you take a plant life, you take a plant, put it in the ground, it grows and it sucks the nutrients out of the ground, and that's why it's nutrient rich. Okay, if you force feed that and it grows in 2 weeks, it doesn't have enough time to absorb those nutrients. So the government says, let's force them in there. Let's inject them. So let's just stick this in the canning process
Enhance
somewhere.
them.
And so there's what's happened. Now, like I said, no one's governing that. No one's governing how much hormone they can put into a dairy cow and fortify that milk. No one's managing how many cattle get injections of hormones to make them grow bigger, faster, stronger. And that's the beginning of our food chain. We eat that. That's our food source. What's going to happen to us? Well, look what has happened to us. Once again, I come back to the same simple fact. You asked me about changes I've seen in the last 50 years. I can't see anything more dramatic than the mistakes we're making with what we're doing with our own food. You can take the most intelligent nation on this planet and tell its people that they're nutritionally ignorant enough to have this happen right in front of their very eyes and do nothing about it. Because they're unaware of it.
And complacent too.
Yeah, and complacent
No,
too.
I don't want to hear it.
Yep,
I don't
want
see
that. Yeah, that's
I
too
don't say anything.
complicated for me. I don't want to talk about that.